Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Oh, hopefully you're having a good day.
Tara looks a little different tonight, doesn't she? On my side.
Wow, she's got a tan
Yeah,
today.
she does. Her hair's a different style and everything.
Yeah.
This is going to seem kind of strange. This will be interesting. The son-in-law and mother-in-law together.
Yeah. So
We've worked together before, though, haven't we?
We have.
And done fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're here just to check in and chat with y'all and say hi and answer questions if you have them.
Mm-hmm.
And do I look burned?
You do look burned.
I just came back from a hike with the boys that had an unexpected detour on the trail. So we just skated in just in time.
Yeah, I mean, they just eked in just now, so I was cutting it close.
Yeah.
But
So anyway, I'm going to look here real quick at the questions. Were you going to talk about?
Yeah, I was. Before we start with the questions and everything, I wanted to thank you guys for some really great birthday gifts that you sent me. That was so sweet, and cards and everything. Jennifer, Jenny, Linda, you guys, thank you so much for what you did. I don't think you guys totally. I know I say this every time, but just saying thank you doesn't feel, like it really expresses what I feel to say thank you. It just seems so.
You're very thankful.
I'm very thankful, I guess. So, but your cards and everything means so much to us. And I was laughing because I got some chocolate for my birthday then from everybody. And I had to go get my physical done yesterday. And of course, first thing they put you on the scale. I just love that. I got to get on the scale. I'm getting the keys out of my pockets because I want as little weight as possible on my body at that time. But I told the doctor, I said, I've never been able to understand how 5 pounds of chocolate, when you eat it, turns into 25 pounds on your body. Go figure. How does that work?
Is that all it does for you?
I mean,
there
should be something wrong with that. That is not logical that 5 pounds of chocolate turns into 25 on your body. So, but I loved every moment of eating every piece of it too. Your mother-in-law, of course, I enjoyed it all.
Yeah, yes.
But thank you, truly. Thank you. You guys are so sweet. And Tara said to thank you for her stuff too. She said, be sure to thank you. And we keep your cards because they mean a lot to us. So we really save all of them and everything. So the notes you write, it's so sweet and kind.
It is really awesome. Mm-hmm. And actually, there have been some cards that came in for Tara and some people that were sending good things for BJ and stuff like that. And so just want to say thanks for all that.
Yeah.
So actually, I was just looking here. If you're on the Facebook side, there's it's happened on another show and I just caught it, but somebody's posting, hey, join us for our live chat, and they post our picture and everything, but it's going to somewhere else. So if you're already on the show, no reason to click that link, and I made it go away. So just so you know. All right. So there were some questions so we're here to answer your questions if you have them.
Anything, whatever you have questions on.
And maybe just give you a little update about how things are going. So Tara is struggling to actually take the time off, I think. But
she's filling it in with other work, I think.
Yeah. So she's been pretty aggressively trying to get the house organized and picked up and all that. And
cleaning the garage.
Okay, but I want to see you reading a book or painting something or whatever. And every now and then I catch her saying, and I thought it would make a good video. And I was like, you cannot be talking about that right now.
We went to the thrift store the other day and I said, do you think we'd be allowed to get the camera out and just do this one little shot of something?
Well,
we didn't do it.
About is, y'all are going to appreciate this, or at least a few people that asked about this before. I thought about when y'all go to the thrift store. Sorry, I'm not talking loud enough. When y'all go to the thrift store, I thought about sneaking over there with the camera, shooting between the shelves to see what it is that y'all are looking at, but without her, knowing about it. Hopefully, although it's hard, she can sniff that out really quick.
I know. It's
so. Jane from the country, cost of your kitchen remodel, is a video coming? Yes, there's a video coming. So Tara recorded a couple things before. She recorded a lot of stuff before she left. That wasn't the intention for me, but when we said, hey, maybe you should take some time off, she said, oh yeah, we have to do all these videos before I go. So one of them was one of them we already ran, the kitchen decorating and organizing. Friday is coming, kitchen remodel mistakes, things we've learned that we should have done differently or not done at all. And then there's the how much does the remodel cost is another one of those videos that's coming.
Yeah, they're breaking it up into different segments or different videos because it would be way too long, to put it in just one. So they had to break it up a little bit.
Yeah. And so also for those of you who've been asking about, wait, what? I thought Tawra was taking a break and here you are. And I was thinking, yeah, this is just a video that we recorded before then.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. And I think we were going to try to come on a couple of times, or a few times between now and when Tawra comes back, just to, touch base with everybody and see how it's going. So
yeah, because we miss you guys too. We really do. So I know a lot of you say you hate seeing us not be on, and we miss you guys too. So.
Okay, so let's see. I'm just looking to see what kind of questions
you can
we
have a double job tonight. Answer questions and pick them out.
Eileen, I'm 40 and never had a credit card. I just save up for what I want, but people are always telling me I need one eventually. Should I give in and get one? If you don't need one now, I wouldn't.
It's you can if you want to. It won't really hurt anything, would it? Because if you got that much control over your money, if you get a credit card, you'll have total control over that credit card.
I'm wondering, why do you want a credit card if you haven't been?
Yeah, what I was going to say, I don't need a credit card really for any reason because I don't borrow. It's like an automatic thing. We think we have to have that credit card to borrow, but there was a time in the world when people didn't borrow anything. You never hardly borrowed money. Once in a while you would for a mortgage, but other than that, you just didn't borrow money for stuff. So you can, in other words, what I'm saying is you can live without borrowing money.
Well, and a lot of people talk about your credit rating. And the thing is, the only reason I would have a credit rating is if for a house mortgage, because we don't borrow money for cars. It would be great not to borrow money for houses, but in our area, kind of medium, smallish house is like $500,000. So I understand that people might get a mortgage for that, even though it'd be better if you didn't. But as far as credit ratings, I think they're overrated.
Well, yeah, and I think your credit would be good anyway because you don't have huge amounts of debt.
Well,
and if you pay your bills on time, they count that in, don't they? Usually,
Michael? They do, but it doesn't help very much. So what it'll show is you don't have a lot of credit history. But some people, like we've had family that have bought cars with payments and they think they've been told that this will help their credit rating. The truth is, what would be better than cars with payments is if you had a credit card and you like put all your gas on it and paid it off every month so that there was no interest on it, but you were doing that. I don't know. I'm not really sure if I would be that worried about it in the situation that you described. Like if wow, I really want to buy a house, they told me I don't have good enough credit, then maybe you want to think about something like that. But some people say, that places are asking for your credit rating to rent a place to you. But I'm pretty sure there are ways to get around that. So, I mean, some of it would be, how much of a deposit are you putting down? And the thing is, a lot of that, I think, is overstated how important that is. So I would say if you're doing fine, then I would not do it. Yeah. And also, let's see, Marilyn says she didn't leave us. She's on hiatus, Tawra. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so she's been really struggling for actually a number of years. And there were things that we were trying to kind of do to try to help that. And I think the kitchen remodel was supposed to help.
And put it over the edge.
And up front, we anticipated on the kitchen remodel, this is going to be a lot more chaos than we really want to have to go through. But we just said, we'll plan for the chaos and then it won't affect us that way. But we were wrong.
Yeah.
In fact, somebody just asked about it. We're going to, sorry, I saw a question that I was going to answer to. What was his name? About the kitchen
Somebody
remodel.
Asked us something about the kitchen remodel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is it done? Did she say that they actually did it today or they didn't?
I think they did it today.
So the one thing that was left undone was the crack in the cabinet or the crack in the countertops. And that was driving Tara crazy. And so it was kind of interfering with her standing down for a break because she kept talking about how it was bothering her because she wanted to organize the kitchen and get the whole house in order.
While she's on break, yeah.
But and I asked her about why are you wanting to do all this organization and picking up. She said, well, I will be able to rest easier if it's all cleaned up and nice looking.
You ladies understand that, don't you?
But it turned out that she was kind of stressing about the crack in the countertop, and they came like the, I don't know, 4th or 5th day of the break, and they said, yeah, we were going to take this one countertop to our workshop. Sorry, I have like a 10-mile hike on my brain. They said, we'll take you to our workshop and fix it, and then we'll come back for the other one. And Tara said, well, can we just send them both right now? So immediately they took out the countertops, and that it was longer than expected before they brought them back. And now I'm not sure, they were going to do a little bit more work on them in place. So hopefully that'll be done shortly. If it wasn't done today, I wasn't here, so I didn't.
At least within the next week or so, it'll be all done.
I don't know about that for sure. So we are going to probably have another update on that as well, like what happened with the countertops and how that was resolved.
And, that's an interesting point to make. We talk about organizing sometimes, keeping your house kind of pulled together. You probably don't think it makes a difference, but it does on your mental stress. You can't relax. Your family can't relax in a house that's full of chaos. And that's why we stress so much trying to keep things, organized and keep on top of things and everything.
Well, that makes sense.
Because you can't really, the whole world outside is chaotic with everything, whether you're going to work or school or something. You have to have a place of peace to relax in. And if you come home and the house is chaos, then did you have any questions then?
Well, so far, the ones I'm seeing, I'm a little bit behind on them.
Mike's got to do a double job tonight. He's got to talk and pick out the questions.
Yeah, so Joe asked, still driving the old Ford truck? Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And it's very popular in town.
Yeah, everybody knows that yellow pickup.
In fact, I took it out the other day to go run some errands, and like everywhere I stop, somebody's like, is that a 79? Like, oh, it's a 78. It's like, oh, what engine you have in it? And that's the conversation.
One that barely runs.
Well, actually, it runs pretty well.
It's doing good now. It's doing good now, yeah.
Still, like, we could take it up on the mountain and hike and stuff, but I don't really want to do that because it was Grandpa's truck. We want to keep it sort of in better shape. But everywhere we go, people are always asking about it. So, yeah, we're still driving it, and it's still the popular truck. And just to confirm, because Ann said she's coming back, I hope. Right now, the plan is for Tara to come back.
Yeah.
Probably in September. I think that's what we're looking at. She mentioned on the show before, she didn't know for sure if she would come back. And I think the main thing on that is she was just so overly tired and burned out. Yeah. I think it was really overwhelming to her. And so, but at the same time, I know it's hard for her not to want to do it at all. Because like she keeps saying, oh, I have a video idea.
We may have to just cut back a little bit, not much. We still do the live stream, and that type of thing.
Well, and there's some stuff that I used to do for the business. And she kind of took it on at some point. Then other things that somebody told us, your business should be doing this, and Tara started doing that. And now that she's not doing any of that, I'm looking at it thinking, okay, which of these things do we need to do at all? And then can I do those instead of her when, if she comes back, then just have her be able to only be involved when she's actually talking to you or in a video, and then have me do the stuff that I either was doing before, or if there's something we really need to do that she's taken on, just kind of take that.
Yeah, well, see, we've just had a couple of years too of moving and all these things happening continually, and stuff. So
yeah, actually, that was kind of why we were trying to get the kitchen resolved as well, because it was the kind of the family stuff that was happening in Colorado, in the early 2010s. And then there was the like the court stuff and all that Tara sometimes talks about. And then there was, we were struggling with a lot of teenagers in the house. And then we ended up having the barking dogs around. And then we moved. And the kitchen was the one thing that Tara really didn't like about the house. And a number of us told her, you know, we can fix the kitchen. We just can't fix the location and the regular property. And so I was just kind of thinking, if we get through the kitchen, then this will solve it. And I think that kind of was worse than I anticipated in trying to help that problem. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, kind of what I think is going to happen is she's going to take a break. It's not going to quite be enough of a break. And then we'll probably have her take a shorter break, like in the late winter when it's usually really slow, not a lot happening. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have a little more time, because this time it was sort of a quick idea to take a break. And so we didn't have a lot of time to plan, but then we could plan and have stuff going on. So it's almost like she's almost not quite missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kay Kennedy, Miss Jill, please tell us how to keep our white hair so pretty. I know you said baking soda, but how do we do it?
Oh, it's really easy. All what I do is I shampoo my hair in baking soda. I put about 1 tablespoon of baking soda in 8 ounces of water. I don't even measure it. I just have a little plastic cup that I keep in the shower, and I put my tablespoon of baking soda and fill that cup, almost all the way full. I pour it on my hair and just mush it in like you would shampoo. There's no bubbles. You just mush it in like shampoo and then rinse it really, really good. And I think part of the secret of doing this is rinsing it, getting it good and wet before you pour the stuff on, and then rinsing it really good afterwards. It doesn't stick in your hair, but just the rinsing helps, clean your hair out. That's all I do. And I don't use anything else. I don't use mousse or hair conditioner, or anything like that on my hair. Now, sometimes if you have really oily hair, you may have to give it a few weeks to start working for you, because what it does is it balances out your natural oils. When you use shampoo, it strips your hair of the oils every time, so your hair makes more oil each time to try to replace it. So the baking soda doesn't strip your hair of oil as like shampoo, and so it'll take it a couple of weeks for your hair to know, okay, I don't need to produce more oil, and it'll balance out. So it's just a tablespoon of baking soda and 8 ounces of water, and pour it on and rinse it out.
Yep.
Oh,
and there's a post on the website.
I was going to say, go on the website that we've got. It's just
livingonadime.com.
I would just put shampoo, maybe.
Yeah, I think you called it no poo something, and then people didn't understand it, so Tara changed it to homemade shampoo. So if you go to livingonadime.com, just type shampoo in the search,
and you'll get something.
It'll come up.
Yeah, and it goes into a lot of detail in there.
So a few more questions about credit cards. Some people talking about as long as I pay it off at the end of the month, and that's great.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Mm-hmm.
We actually have, like Tara and I have one for the business and one for our personal stuff that, especially for like online things that bill regularly for the business, it's just really hard to manage that without a credit card. Or a lot of our personal stuff, if we buy it online, or there's some kind of a scenario where the protection from the credit card in terms of, compelling the, like if you buy something and the person cheats you, then the credit card will fight on that for you. Mm-hmm. So we have one for our personal stuff and one for our business stuff. And we pay them off every single month. And I usually pay it twice a month, just because I look at the balance and I think, oh, there's a balance on there. I'm going to pay it right now.
And what I do too is I keep at least twice as much. I don't know. I just do the same, spend the same every month for some reason. I don't try it to do it that way, but it just ends up, I spend pretty close to the same amount every month. So what I do is I try to keep double. It's not that much, so I can keep double of it in my checking account. And that way I'm really sure that I don't have to worry about not having the money in there too, But if you're a person that keeps your money under control for most everything, and you don't really need a credit card that much, it shouldn't be too hard for you to pay that credit card off each month, because you're watching it and you're being careful. Where people get in trouble is they just spend and spend and spend with their credit cards. I got a credit card, so I can just spend. But if you control all your finances, that won't be a problem for you.
Yeah. Well, and there are some other things about it.
I like to get the rewards too. I get some pretty good rewards on my credit card, so I like to do it for that too.
Yeah. Donna says you can hardly rent a house without a certain credit rating here in Florida. I know because I just rented a house. So a lot of times there are ways around that, but people just don't really look into it to find out what those ways are. But the way that we dealt with that, Tara and I, if we thought we needed it for a reason like that, we might do it as long as you know for sure that you're disciplined enough to not carry a balance.
Mm-hmm.
So once you start carrying a balance, then you end up paying 24% interest or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and that just gets really out of control
yeah, you
fast.
can't. That's why I say you have to be a person that can control your money.
And before we got married, I didn't control my money because I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
You didn't even know you should control it.
My parents, I think, were maybe a little embarrassed about how they were handling their money. For whatever reason, they did not share any details about money with us. It was a complete secret all the time. And we would know sometimes if something wasn't right because they might be fighting a lot or something like that. But they didn't really tell us anything about money. And my mom was careful with money. And I remember, she didn't let us buy everything we ever wanted. It was kind of like Jill in that sense, in that, it's unwise to spend this or that. But I just think there was some financial stuff going on there that they didn't feel good about. So they just didn't tell us anything about money. And so when I got to college, I was thinking, wow, it sure would be nice to have this or that. And somebody at the college, they had a booth that was like for a credit card. And they're like, you deserve to do something nice for yourself. And I thought, I do. I deserve that. And just in case you're hearing this and that thought has crossed your mind, you do not deserve it. Don't do it now. I didn't realize till years later, this is a trap. And when I do it for myself now, because a lot of the college students I knew were saying, well, I can't really afford it now, and I'll put it on the credit card. And then later when I'm rich and I can afford it because I got this college degree, I'll be able to pay it off.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, that day is probably not going to happen. And when you have your college degree, if you end up working in that field, then you're going to have more important things to spend money on than going to coffee shops and eating out. And I remember there's a time where we had very little money and we were still chipping away at my debt on that. And I was just thinking how stupid I was. When you borrow like that, you're stealing from your future self. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I stole from me. and so that's the thing but since then we got to be much more like on point at not carrying balances and not doing all that. And so occasionally if there's something like I said, we need to buy things online, we know that if we use a credit card and a scammer gets a hold of it, that they'll lock down the card, but we aren't out anything while they investigate it. But if it's a debit card from our bank account and a scammer gets a hold of it and takes out $5,000, then eventually when they get done resolving the whole thing, we might get the money back that was taken out of the account. So it's reasons like that we have gotten a card in the past.
Yeah, and two things to take away from what Mike said too. Did you notice he said they didn't talk about money and they didn't really teach them about money? I don't think parents understand you need to teach your children about money. That's a life skill. I mean, really, it's as important to learn that as so many other things. So you have to teach those kids about money and start the minute you give them like when I got my first allowance, my mom, you've heard me say before, she taught me how to tithe off that little quarter that I had. I was only about 6 or 7 years old. And so you start young, and it's just an automatic thing if you teach them when they're young. And the second thing that he mentioned too, to take away from this is, did you notice he said the stress and the fighting? You guys, a lot of people don't realize having debt and not controlling your money causes so much stress and so much fighting in families. It's a major thing. It causes divorce. And this is why we teach this stuff and we push getting out of debt, because you're in the middle of the fray and you don't realize what that's doing to you when you're in the middle of something like that. And so we're trying to shake you up and make you open your eyes to see that, this is not good for you and it's not good for your family. It causes stress. So,
Well, I can't remember, is it the number one cause of stress or the number two?
I would be
think
tempted to
money
say
is
number
number
one.
one.
I really would, but
well, and it's also like I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are going to say, well, we do that, but we figure if you're married, your money should all be our money and not my money and her money.
yeah.
Because I personally know people here in town who one of the spouses is very upset because the other spouse, it's my money, and they don't have a very good way of figuring out which expenses are whose responsibility. And if you're married to somebody, you should be tied to, you should be
one in everything.
Yeah, and you should be, I want to say tied to them is the word, devoted, committed to them forever.
Yeah.
And if you are, then it's our money. And some people say, well, I wish I could get the other person to agree with me on that. That would be kind of a marriage issue. Like,
I was just going to say, most of the time when this happens, it's a marriage problem and not a money problem, because they're button heads for who's going to have control and different things like that. You need to care enough about each other that you're willing to give and take and work with it. Like with my husband and I, what he was honest enough. He knew he could not deal with the money, that he would spend it like crazy and get us in debt. And so he immediately says, you can take care of the money, and he didn't have any problem coming and saying, should we spend, I was wanting to get this. Do we have enough money for me to get this and that? So find the person in your marriage that has better control over the money, that knows what they're doing and feels comfortable, and let them take over the paying of the bills and dealing with that. But let them be in charge of the money. But at the same time, the other spouse needs to be told on a regular basis, like once a month, to go over it and say, let's look, I want to show you what I paid this month, what bills we have this month. So that doesn't mean the other spouse should not have anything to do with the money, because then you've got another issue that happens, and that is they'll maybe just start spending and they don't realize, well, why can't we buy this? Because they've not seen the bills. So you need to share and at least look together on the bills once in a while and find out what's doing, and then let the person that's the strongest actually write the checks or whatever, or pay online or whatever you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and in our situation, when Tara and I first got married, I was having a really hard time not spending. But getting married, in my heart, I already knew I had a problem.
Mike, I don't mean to interrupt you. I have to give Mike credit about one thing.
Oh, well, then you can interrupt me to say that.
I can do more than one thing, but this is one thing I've always admired in Mike, and that is he recognizes when he's got a problem, and he'll ask me or Tara, about it, and we'll give our advice, and he actually tries to change and fix it. But go ahead. So
well, before we got married, I had gotten my credit card at the college, and I wasted a whole lot of money and got the credit card maxed out. And then a friend of mine said, hey, you could get another credit card at a lower interest rate and transfer that and pay it off. And I was like, okay. So I got another card and I ran it all the way to the top too. And I was thinking, oh, I can't be doing this. Actually, the last thing I charged on that second card, I was like 21, I think. The last thing I charged on that card, I went to the store and bought a Nintendo. And I was like, well, there's only like $150 left of credit, but I can take this. And then I was justifying. I can get this, and then it won't cost me so much because I won't be eating out and stuff, because I'll just stay home and play video games after work. I mean, like, I will work, and then in my free time, instead of looking for other ways to spend money, that was my logic. Stupid logic, I know, but
don't make your mother-in-law comment on that.
But I took it home. And I opened the box, and I was taking it out of the box, and I was like, this sudden feeling came over me, like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? This is crazy. So I put it back in the box, and took it back to the store, and they said, is there anything wrong with it? And I said, no, I said, I just realized I can't afford it. So anyway, but after we got married, I realized that I had a problem with spending. Well, I realized that before, but I already knew it when we got married, that Tara was really ruthless about her spending and about making sure every expense had some, like, it was important to us to spend it.
It was a need, not a want.
But so it was better for me to let her spend the money because then I wouldn't be tempted. At the same time, she was, because of her chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, she would make a lot of mistakes with the checkbook. So like she would write a check for $500 and write it down as a deposit for $500. And so we came up with this agreement between us. You spend the money. I will make sure that everything is good in the checkbook. That it's all good. And we would talk to each other about it.
Yeah. That's a perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
And what he said at the last, you have to talk about it with each other. And each of you have to be willing, to give and take on it too. The person that's controlling the money or, has a little bit more say in whether they should spend it or not. You have to be lenient with it a little bit too,
Yeah.
And so back and forth, and you need to work. I think you need to work together on it. And I think that's where a lot of the mistakes happen, is you're not working at it together a lot of times because one's stronger in one area and one's stronger in the other. God put you together so that you could put that strongness and that weakness together and get it to balance out.
Yeah. Well, and there was one other thing I was thinking, but now I have realized, especially while Tara was overwhelmed with a lot of things, that maybe she doesn't need to know all the details of how I'm paying the bills. So if she asks me, I will tell her. I don't keep secrets and anything like that. And she can get into all of everything and look. But I don't report to her now, we got this bill and I paid it. If it's a bill that I know. I mean, if I was going to go buy something that costs a lot of money, I would talk to her about that.
Yeah.
But if the electric bill is $50 more this month than it was last month, she doesn't need to know that. She's under enough stress already. And I mean, maybe if I knew that she was doing something that was causing that, I might mention the cost. Mm-hmm. But in general, like here, if it's 100 degrees out, the electric bill is going to cost more. And if it's, 60 degrees out, it's going to cost less. So on things like that, I found, particularly like before that she was kind of really in the burnout place, I could see that some of those details was just too much information for her. So, but at the same time, she has access to all the financial stuff, just like we both have access to each other's computers and phones and everything else, because we're married. That's what we do.
Yeah, and that's another good point, is when she was getting a little bit more stressed, he was trying to protect her and take care of her. But they both have access to it, and they know how to take care of it, and they know what to do. Each one of them does, so that if one gets sick, the other one can take over.
Yeah.
If one would die, the other one knows what the finances are doing. So you have to work together on this.
Yeah.
Definitely. And if you can't work together on it, and you've got real problems in that area, you need to have counseling. Go to a pastor or to a counselor, because it's a marriage problem. And probably 90%, or at least when that happens, it is a marriage problem.
Yeah. Well, and I think the main thing is, I think people don't really think of marriage as I'm doing this. Well, you do it for yourself, but you have to actually be willing to give more than you get.
Yeah.
And both people kind of have to be that way, or else it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And if both people aren't that way, if you can get, and you're the one that you think you're the one that's doing more, it's good to maybe go to a counselor together and talk about that, because that counselor is like a third party person who might say to the other person, oh, look, you should probably be doing this. This is kind of normal. Or they might say to you, I think your expectations might be not normal. So, and you have to be willing on that too. So
I'm laughing because I can't believe my son-in-law and the mother-in-law are doing marriage counseling. marriage advice and counseling here.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
goodness.
let's see, I was
I
looking
think
to
that's
see,
funny.
because there are some other questions. I got a little distracted because I was having to squelch a troll problem on Facebook. Yeah, if people post a link that says, come watch us live at this other place, don't click that. That's not us. So, yeah, Judy says spouses should have access to passwords. I pay bills online. We get the statements. Well, and actually, it's funny because that is our thing. And she and all the kids know how to get into my computer, my phone, and we all know how to get into Tawra stuff. I know how to get in everything.
And they know how to get into mine.
But still, I probably need to document better some of that, because even though Tawra can get into a lot of it, she's kind of lost a lot of, like for the bank and stuff, she probably wouldn't know how to get into that if the kids, I think, have a little bit of understanding of where I keep that stuff.
Just how to work the computer.
It's more of a technical issue there. Yeah. But yes. So anyway, I'm going to switch gears here because there were some other questions. Beth, my dentist is recommending extraction of all my lower teeth. I don't want to go through all this. Should I look for another dentist?
I would maybe get a second opinion.
I would definitely get a second opinion.
I would. If you're that unsure, I would get a second opinion, and then you can go from there and decide what you think. Yeah,
I would say with any dental thing, we've had a lot of problems.
Or
with
even
dentists.
major medical thing too.
Or cars or anything.
Yeah.
If somebody gives you a big thing, but dentists, we particularly realized some dentists think if it looks like there could be a problem in the future, let's fix it all now.
Oh, yeah.
And some dentists say, well, we'll wait and see how that's going. And then some dentists say, we'll fix it later if it becomes a problem. And kind of what would be good is a dentist who's in the mindset of, I'm going to look at this, I'm going to advise you what's going on. But if we're not 100% sure what's going on, we don't want to change something, because, teeth are body parts are best in the original equipment. So if they want to take it out completely, it would be good to have somebody else that says, hey, here's the problem. So let's see. Oh, yeah. Kimberly, my husband and I have a little book. We keep all that information. We keep hidden so that somebody needs to get in something, the other person's not around. The passwords are all in that little book. Yeah. Wow. Actually, what the kids know that Tawra sort of knows but doesn't always remember is I have all that information in a encrypted password manager on the computer. So, and it's backed up. So the boys know how to get into it pretty easy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a little book and the boys know where my book is and everything. So,
and the thing is, I don't mind putting it in a book, but it's they know exactly where it is this way. And if somebody were to get in the house, I don't think there would be a problem with anything. So there are a bunch of questions here. Let's see. More teeth. Depends on reasons regarding teeth. Yeah. I would say I would definitely get a second or third opinion, especially, I don't know, dental things. I'm always suspicious because I've gone in and had them say no cavities, no cavities. Oh, now you have 8 cavities.
Oh yeah, I had a dentist once say, we've got to get this taken out right away and taken care of, and I wasn't able to get back to him to do it, and it was like 20 years before I ever had anything done on that silly tooth, and then it wasn't even that bad. So,
Spatch, late to the party. Hi from New Zealand. Hello, Spatch.
Oh, New Zealand, yeah.
Ingrid, one tip, keep your credit card active before retirement. I did not, and now they will not even give me a secure debit credit card. So I guess it depends on how much of an income you have on that. And again, I don't know, at your place in life, do you need one? I mean, maybe you do. But if you own a house or any kind of place where you live or whatever, I don't know for sure what else you would need to borrow for.
Yeah.
Like when people say renting, I understand that's an issue. And if everyone absolutely required your credit rating to rent, then I might do something. But I don't think everyone does anywhere.
The only time I had trouble, I didn't have credit cards for years and years and years. And the only time I had trouble was when I had to rent a car one time and they wouldn't let me do it. But I just like I could borrow the kids' credit cards because, we know each other and that, so I could do that. but, and you could, if you know somebody like that, that would work
You
too.
have to be really careful you can trust them.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
also known people that got out of
I know,
control.
but see, you know, we've been together a long time now. And we pretty much know each other.
When we also do things where or Jill will say, "I'd like, can you get this or whatever," and we'll go buy it on Amazon,
Mhm.
and then we'll pay for it, and then she'll just
And then I pay him
pay us
back
for that later.
so.
Okay.
And I test the grandkids when they get to a certain age. They'll be needing something or whatever, and they never ask me to borrow money, but a couple times they, you know, needed. I knew they were needing something, so it was a little amount. Well, like Cody in that. What I do is it would be a small amount, like $25, $50, and I said, well, let Nan lend it to you because it's kind of a test, is what I do, and I lend them this small amount of money, and I see how well they pay me back if they do it on a really timely manner, if they're really responsible and conscientious, and then I'll maybe loan them a second time, just a little bit more, and if they do it a second time and they're really good about it, then I know I can trust them, you know, pretty much in the future. And I watch how they spend their money on other things. So I watch that all the time. So then by the time, if something would happen and they really needed something, I feel confident at that point that I could lend them the money, you know, with them.
Well, yeah, and actually it's funny because with the kids,
and also, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
Also, when I lend to family or when I lend to anybody, if I test it out really carefully, but when I lend money, I never lend with the idea of getting it paid back, because I don't want there to ever down the road be something happen and they didn't pay me back for whatever reason. I don't want there to be hard feelings. If I'm going to lend money, it's in my mind, I'm giving it to you.
Actually, I was going to say something like that as well. Like, if you should never loan money to the kids. If you think you're going to, you should, in the back of your mind, think, I'm giving this to them and I may never see it again.
Yeah.
But if they pay me back, it'll help me to understand how to handle this in the future.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, I mean, and we've had situations where, like, when the kids were younger, maybe first trying to do stuff, we tried to help them with something where I spent some money to try to help them because I thought, oh, maybe they can learn something about this business or this thing they want to do. And I realized at the time, one of the things kind of went south on that. And I was like, well, it's the cost of being a parent and raising kids. Like, you just have to realize, okay, so at this point, I know that if I'm putting the money in that to help them, I don't want this to become a problem with the relationship. So,
and that's another thing we were talking earlier about money causing stress in the family. See, this is one more thing that you need to do to help not have any stress in the family, because if in your mind you're just giving it to them, it won't bother you near as much. So
yeah, and that's why that's why when Jill said just give them a little, and honestly, it's good if they learn to not need to do that.
Yeah,
but sometimes things happen, and you know,
and it's good practice for them to learn to pay things back. You know, if they ever, then when they get older and they have to, that teaches them to be responsible.
Yeah. So
are we asked?
We have a lot of different things.
I was going to say, have we answered it?
Well, I was trying to gather them as it's hard to talk. And
I know. Mike, like I said, Mike has a double job tonight.
And is debt consolidation credit card a good idea? I'm not sure what what you mean by debt consolidation credit card. I would generally say I would not do debt consolidation.
I wouldn't do it for anything.
The problem with debt consolidation for a lot of people is maybe those people they don't fully have control over the spending. And they will consolidate that usually into a house mortgage. And then they'll say, I paid off all my debt, but you didn't pay off your debt. It's now a debt that's on your house for 30 years instead of.
You're kind of lying to yourself, you know. And so it relieves some stress, I guess, for the moment, but it doesn't take care of the initial. It's like having a big cut on your gangrene or cut that's got a infection in it, and you put a Band-Aid on it, but you don't ever look at it anymore.
Mm.
And it gets worse and worse and worse because you haven't taken care of it properly. And by just consolidating, you're just making it just as bad, if not to keep worse.
Yeah.
That's just not a good way to learn to deal with your money and to control your money.
However, there are some things, again, you really have to make sure you've learned the lesson.
Yeah.
And your spending is under control now. Like you're really under control with your spending, because all these things can make things worse for you.
Mm-hmm.
But Tara and I eventually did what that friend suggested that I do in college, which is we noticed the credit card I had was like at 17% interest, and we got an offer for 5.9% interest for a year. So we're like, maybe we should do that. So we switched it over to there, and at the time there was no fee to do that, so it was just moving it from 17 to 5.9. But we kept paying the same amount I was paying on it when it was 17%. And then before the year was over, we got an offer for a card at 3.9%. So we're like, okay, now this is about to expire at 5.9. Let's switch to 3.9. And then pretty soon after that, we started getting all these offers for 0%. And I don't recommend getting a lot of cards, but what we found at the time was we were under control with our money at that point, and we were paying less interest, and we were paying the same amount of money on the debt, so it went away faster. But after we learned that, I wouldn't go back to the debt.
Yeah. See, it depends on how, like he said, how you react to it, because some people, when they consolidate that, they feel free, like they're set free. So now they've just got this one bill. So that means in their mind that they can get another credit card or do something else, and they'll get right back into debt again with more payments and stuff.
Yeah. And actually, Kimberly said find a credit card that do balance transfer at 0% for a year or so. Mm-hmm. If you have things under control, that can be a good idea. Mm-hmm. And some people say, well, I never find it at 0%. Well, at the time, our credit wasn't very good, but my credit before we got married was probably worse than Tara's. And still, we got a lower rate, and then they started offering us lower rates after that because we were paying the bill on time every single month. And actually, we were paying extra on it. And I've noticed now, because we pay it off in full every month, I think that looks really good on the credit report, because they see us for what we do, like certain business expenses charge every month on the business card. And then we pay that whole amount off every month. And that can be thousands of dollars, because that's how much it costs to run a business. So when it charges up that whole amount and then pays it off, mm-hmm. they look at it as, whoa, these people are a great credit risk because they always pay. Yeah. So, but we would have paid that anyway because it's business. And I wouldn't suggest doing that with your personal stuff, but you might somebody asked if we ever put I forgot, groceries or some other bills. And I wouldn't normally recommend doing that, but kind of what we ended up with is sometimes with the whole issue with Tara being able to not spend too much money, but not being able to confusion between Tara and me on how much money is in the checking account. If she doesn't know, she'll put it on the card. That way she's not taking something out of the bank that might not be there at that mm-hmm. moment. Yeah. So we do sometimes put like groceries or gas or whatever on there if she doesn't know, and then I pay it right away. Because pretty much I log into that account 2 or 3 times a month, and if I see a balance on it, I pay it. Yeah. So I don't wait till the end of the month normally to pay those off, because I don't like seeing big numbers starting to show up there. So earlier in the show, somebody said, and I meant to mention that the house mortgage is down to a crazy low number. Doing a search. Diana, thank you for your tips and encouragement. My mortgage is down to $11,800.
Way to go. That's
awesome.
Almost paid off.
Yeah.
Wow.
It'll be pretty easy. Oh, I forgot to mention as we're talking about this.
Yeah. What are we on here for, Michael?
We do. If you
have a heart attack.
Most people that are watching probably already know this, yeah. But if you really need to get your finances under control, yeah, like you can stop eating out and you can make a lot of the stuff yourself at home, and people don't like to do that. But we have a cookbook that tells you how to do it, to where it takes like 5 minutes to make dinner. So instead of you might say, well, it's kind of an inconvenience, so that's why I get fast food. But it's usually faster than going through the drive-through line.
By the time you wait and drive through and all that type, we have so many recipes in there that just take no time at all, you know.
And I also forgot, we also have a gluten-free version. So if you have to eat gluten-free, like Tara was frustrated with the fact that she had to go gluten-free, but everything in the store was really expensive. So she wrote this book by adapting recipes from our original Dining on a Dime cookbook here. So if you need gluten-free food that tastes good, you should get this one.
Yeah. And if you guys have it on there and you do like it, you might pop on there and let other people know that you do like, you know, the gluten-free is working for you or whatever. And we have more people with our dining. It's so funny. We've been teaching how to do the servings and to cut back, and we have how to use your leftovers. So they're not only saving money, but they've been saying they've been losing weight too. I just find that so amazing, you know, that they are. So it's not like a diet program necessarily, but it's just happening for some reason.
I just think it's funny how many people, they're not necessarily concerned about the money, but they said, I was spending 20 minutes waiting in the drive-through line.
Yeah, I know.
It takes me 5 minutes to throw.
Because I've actually timed it before just to see, and it takes you. Not only are you sitting there wasting gas, you know, and everything else, time and everything. So yeah.
Oh man, we live in Colorado. Pretty much every Taco Bell was this way, but there was one that they had this drive-through that once you got into it, you couldn't get out of it, and they always had like 18 cars in line. And I didn't go very often, but occasionally if I wanted to go to Taco Bell, I would park in the parking lot and walk in and be the first customer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you are going to do that, go inside. I go inside, even like at the pharmacy or anything. I go ahead and run inside because I actually find it's faster and I'm not wasting gas, you know, running, because gas is getting so expensive. Everybody says, how do I save on my gas? Well, that's one of the ways that you can save on it, you know.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay for a gym membership because you're getting exercise walking in. See?
Actually, there are a couple more things. Kimberly said I would not recommend putting consumer debt onto a house because if for any reason you miss those payments, you could lose the house. Yeah, when people roll their credit cards into a house mortgage, it just creates worse problems.
Yeah,
a credit card
you got to look at all that
loan.
Fine print, and you get in all these a lot of complicated things, and people get in trouble.
Yeah, because a credit card is an unsecured loan, so they can, if you don't pay it, they can send debt collectors after you to call you nasty names on the phone and all that, but they can't take your house away. And if it's in your house and you don't pay it, then they can take your house away.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm glad she mentioned that.
And actually, it's not really a taking your house away situation on this, but a lot of people say, I don't like my car anymore. I'm going to go get another car, and they're going to let me make payments on it for this much. And a lot of times, if you still owe a lot on your old car, they just add it to the balance that you're paying on the new car. So a lot of people don't realize they're paying payments for this car plus the rest of the payments for the last car mixed in there. So yeah, those are things to keep in mind. I would just, as far as debt, I would try my best not to do anything
stay out
with
of debt and get out of debt. So yeah.
And it seems like someone else had one other thing about that. But anyway, one person was saying about, I'm not sure, I sort of think I know the direction this is going, but Carol said if you have assets lined up like selling property, make sure you have the same goals as your partner. I'm not completely sure I understand but basically if you're thinking about getting married or whatever, you need to make sure that you're on the same page on financial things.
And if you can't,
that's not going to get better after.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can't get together before you're married on this and get it all, feel good about that, you know, it's going to get worse after you get married, really.
Yep. Oh, Melinda is excited. You just discovered we're live. Yes, Melinda, it's awesome to see you. We decided to kind of take over a little bit while Tara's taking a break. So, Diana says, love both of my books. Awesome, Diana.
Oh,
really glad you like them. We constantly hear like lots of great stories from people and we love them. Let's see. Jacqueline asked, do clothes dry on the line in the winter? Why do people hang laundry on the line in the winter? Well,
it depends on where you live, of course. But I hang mine out all winter long. And I live in where do I live?
Wyoming.
Where am I living, Michael?
You live in Wyoming. You live in your own little world.
I do live in my own little world. Oh my word! I live in Wyoming, and I lived in Kansas. It was even colder and more icy and everything. What I would do but I had a family, and I hung out in the winter too with the family. But what you do in the wintertime, I would find days. There would be a lot of days that we have in the winter. You'd be surprised, and like I say, it depends on where you live again. That I could hang the clothes out, easily, and they would dry. If it's above 40 or even above 35, the clothes will dry. I have to leave them out a little bit longer, but they do dry. Now, if you live someplace where it just is going to be cold all the time, I take drying racks, and I have, I had 2 drying racks whenever I had a family, and I would just do one load, and I could fit that load on the drying racks, and I would be fine. And it would dry overnight. I'd set them by a heater, heater vent or something. They dry really quickly in the house in the winter. And so I think I have on the website, do we have a video too about hanging on? I think I did one about hanging on racks.
It's one of the racks.
And on the line, but I thought maybe I just explained.
One of our earliest YouTube videos was how to hang clothes on a clothesline.
Yeah, but I think we have a laundry ebook that I explain how to do the racks, maybe, or something. It seems like I did someplace.
I think you maybe did a post on it, but we also have our how to get organized.
Yeah, and it has laundry in there. But you just start learning how to hang them on the rack a certain way. And I hang a lot of the tops on hangers, and then hang them up like on a shower rod or something like that. And you can easily do a load of laundry every day in the house. But like I said, at least once or twice a week, it would be warm enough that you could hang them out in the wintertime. And
a lot of places you could hang them out all winter.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Wyoming, we had 4 feet of snow on the ground, and that type of thing this past winter, and I still hung my clothes outside. It was hard to get to the clothesline, but I could still hang it out.
And when she says it was hard to get to clothesline, like we had 4 feet of snow.
We had 4 feet of snow.
I'm surprised you were. The clothesline's right on your porch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that might have been easier.
Yeah.
If you're interested in that, I can share that link here to the how to organize and clean your home. This is the one.
And that ebook set has a lot of really good tips. The laundry one has all kinds of how to make your own starch, your spray starch, about irons, and your own laundry detergent recipes we've got in there. Well, we've got it in the books too, the laundry detergent recipes in Dining on a Dime. And I think we've got it on the website. So there's just a lot of information in the ebooks too, in those ebooks.
Yep. Sorry. Stephanie asked a little while ago, what is a good price to buy a car for a teenager? He's helping pay half. So right now we have one that's looking, and we have, with all of them, we've had a rule where we pay a certain amount towards their car, and then they can pay the rest. And I think it's $1,500 or $2,000, but he's looking at it. We were kind of encouraging him to look for some vehicles, and we actually were going to go look at one this week that was $4,000. And it might be possible to get one for a little bit less. I'd say 3 might be good. Mm-hmm. Less than 3 is more likely to have more problems that you might not want to deal with. One thing on the price though, it's not just the price. Like, you have to really shop them well. We always figure we may have to look at 10 cars before we find the right one. And typically we'll look at things like
mileage.
Mileage and what kind of car, because like
Type.
Toyotas and Hondas and things like that will go 300,000 miles.
Yeah.
Fords and Chevys and things, I think they're more 150,000 miles.
Upkeep on the car if it looks like it's.
We'll look at it and see what kind of condition is it in. We operate everything in the whole car. We turn on the heater, we turn on the air conditioner,
Yes.
run the wipers. We look through the whole thing and look at what kind of condition it's in.
They even do the windows, because one time I was doing
rolled up and down all the windows, and
the
try all
windows
seat
didn't
belts
work.
and
And the
radios.
salesman says, "Oh, well, we could maybe fix that for you." I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness."
Well, and we usually buy them from private parties.
I would do from private parties. I don't recommend a salesman at all. It's
And
locked.
you could pretty much tell pretty quickly if you get there and it's just in really bad condition. They didn't even care enough to clean it up for you to see it.
Mhm.
But then there's others where if it looks really good, it's often really good. But one of the things we'll look at on the engine, if the engine is super spotlessly clean,
beware.
that could be an indication that there's a problem and they're trying to wash it just before they showed it to you. Or if it's like really thrashed, then we wouldn't. And what we'll tend to do is we'll ask them for a test drive, and we'll drive it around a little and see, does it seem to run okay? Does it make any weird noises? Is there anything that just seems wrong about how it drives? And then, especially if they go with us, we still do it. But if it's better if they don't go with us, we'll pull into a parking lot after we've driven it around a little bit to test it, and then get underneath it and see, is it dripping anything? Because like motor oil, if it drips motor oil and it's not from the fill cap, or it's not from the oil plug or the oil filter, then that could be an expensive repair later. So that's the kind of stuff we just look for. Things like, are there fluids leaking? Mm-hmm. How does it feel and sound when it runs? Does everything work? And then Tawra usually does the negotiating, because she's a little more. No matter what they ask, it's always good to offer them a little less and see what they say.
It doesn't hurt to ask. They can just say no.
I mean, they could say no if they don't want to sell it for that. And we also look at the NADA. They have a list of like cars of different ages and what they should sell for. There's another one, Kelly Blue Book, but what we found in Colorado and in Wyoming, Kelly seems to have lower prices than what people are actually paying. So we look in there to see, because if NADA says it's worth $4,000 in this condition with this many miles and they want $6,000, then if they're not willing to negotiate, we won't buy it. And there's one other thing. I know this is more than you're asking, but we've also found that one time we got a car with super low mileage, but it was really, really old. We're like, oh, this is going to be great. But then somebody wrecked it, and the insurance would only pay the market value of the car. And so on a really old one, at the time we paid more than it was worth at its really old age. So even though it had great miles, it didn't end up being that good of a deal. So we're looking like for one of our sons, helping him look for a car. And that one we were looking at early 2000s for like $4,000 for a Toyota.
And if you can, spread the word around. Let people at work know that you're looking for a car. Let family members know that you're looking for, something. Because sometimes, as a matter of fact, probably 3 of my cars that I got, the last 3 cars or so, was through my son knew a guy at work that they were having to put his mom in the nursing home, and literally a little old lady had driven this car and had no mileage on it, or no miles hardly at all on it. And so he got me a really good deal just from letting this guy at work know, that I needed a car. And so let people at work or your family members know, or friends, people at church, whatever, that you're looking, and you'd be surprised at what pops up. Yeah. You can get some really good stuff then.
Yeah. And if you don't know anything about cars, like I said, normally we look for things like, does it leak oil and does everything seem to work well? And one car we didn't pay attention. I saw it, but we decided to buy it anyway. It had some rust in the trunk area on the sides where there's a little, and I thought, I wonder if there's been water in this. And that car ended up being the biggest lemon for us, and I should have just gone with my gut on that. But if you don't know anything about cars, if you have a family member or a friend who does, you might take them with you to sort of check it out with you while you're doing it.
And my mechanic, he would do cars for me, check them out, for very minimal amount of money and everything. Whoops.
Yikes. Ouch. Sorry.
He's having knee problems. They went hiking today, and they hiked, and they just got back right before the show. So his knee is killing him all of a sudden. Charlie horse. Oh, I know. Those are awful.
Okay.
He'll catch his breath. Well, one thing too, while he's writhing in pain over there, and I can't do anything to help him, I'm afraid. One thing on the cars too, if you look inside them and they look kind of worn, like they hadn't been taken care of, and in the corners there's a lot of dirt or different things like that, you can kind of tell if somebody's actually taking care of a card. Look in the ashtray, you know, is there stuff in there, and different things like that. You can check and see what if they're not going to take care of the inside very much, they're probably not going to take care of the engine. They're not going to have the oil changed on a regular basis. I really like it too, because a lot of the cars that I looked at, they kept the maintenance papers in the glove box. And then they would show in there how, when the last time, how often they had the oil checked and things like that done. And so that, that will give you an idea too. If they don't keep up on that type of stuff, then it's probably not a good car to get. So while you're in pain, do you know of another question that they were asking? I don't have my glass. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Debt consolidation. We already did that. Jill, have you decided not to move? At this point, no. I am. I'm still trying to get my house arranged. I've got furniture piled everywhere because I had a Murphy bed in one bedroom. So I decided I couldn't use it. It was too big for that bedroom. So I'm taking it out, and I just got it out today. So now that I've got that out, I can start maybe putting my furniture in place. So I'm going to stay for a little while, at least for now. Where is Tawra? Somebody asked. She's just on a little sabbatical, and Mike and I are taking over for a few weeks for her while she takes a break and gets rested up and everything. She's doing fine. She just needs a little bit of break. Let's see. My husband's working in one room now. We've been living in the house with no washer dryer hookups for 2 years.
In the browser, extreme mode, you'll see all the comments. I'm gonna have to run to the house for another. I don't know how to do this. Oh, sorry. Okay. Right here. Sorry, everyone. Having a little problem. I'm not sure if it's related to the hiking. This right here is more stuff.
Okay.
So if you have it,
on the list. Okay.
That's the current comments.
Okay, and now then here's one question. Let me think about it for a minute. It was, what have I done to encourage what has happened to encourage my faith lately? I've had so many things happen. It's hard to pick just one. And I had something happen just the other day, and I told her I couldn't believe it. And now I'm gone blank. So I'll think on that for just a minute, and then I'll try to remember it. Let's see. I'm looking here. Bear with me here for a minute, guys, because I have no clue. Oh, very good. Is it Deanna? I paid off 2 credit cards, and I'm working towards paying off my truck down to less than $6,000. I've been putting away money aside for rainy days. We love to hear you guys doing this. This is so cool because to hear you guys actually doing this stuff, and there's more success stories, and we keep getting more and more for some reason. You're doing a great job. And you know what? They're going to be changing. I don't know when it's going to happen, guys, but they are changing the money where we won't have cash anymore, and we won't have as much control of our money. So the fact that you guys are paying your debt and trying to get that stuff down, people keep saying, what do I do if something like that happens, if they do change over? The main thing to do is get out of your debt and to buy things that you need now. And those 2 things help more than anything else. So you're supposed to come out, and he sent Jack out to help. I think Nan's doing okay. So that's what you need to do instead of worrying about, a lot of people say buy silver and do this, and that's fine. But you have got to get out of debt, because if you're not out of debt and they control your money, they're going to force you to pay that debt in ways that maybe you can't control as well. And so you need to go ahead and get that debt paid off, and get things that you need. Get your house payment paid and a house mortgage paid, and that will really help you out. You want to read off some questions? Let's see. I just saw one a minute ago up here. what has encouraged me in my faith? I had something happen. What did Nan have happen just not too long ago? I was so excited about it. I thought I need to tell you guys because I've started seeing things happen on an everyday basis. Oh, what was it, Jack? You can't remember. I can't remember. I don't know. I can't remember. I'll think of it. Maybe. Is Dad dying in there? Yes, he should drink pickle juice. Tell Dad. I should have you go tell Dad to take pickle juice. Pickle juice does work. It's helped me before in the past. So.
Why does it help?
Huh?
Why does it help?
I don't know what pickle juice. I think it's something about the salt or the sodium or something, whatever's in it. What's some other questions here? Okay, guys, I can't see them. Let's see. Just a second. Oh, thank you, Joan. Joan made a good point. She said she has a cookbook, and every young bride should have a little like life's journey book. But when she was talking about the young bride, that is a real. Not. I know I'm plugging the cookbook, but it really does help brides because we put all these recipes on how to cook basic things like rice, mashed potatoes, how to make sweetened iced tea, how to cook a roast that you don't see in a lot of cookbooks every day. So if you guys, weddings are coming up, and stuff like that. So, they make really good gifts for wedding gifts. I'm doing 3 jobs here, guys. Bear with me.
I can write some of them down if you want, and then you can.
If you want to, you can. I'm not used to using the Epsom salt can help too. Yeah, I wondered if all 3 of them wouldn't have leg problems. I told Jack to take an ibuprofen. We live in the mountains. We don't live in the mountains, but we're kind of in the foothills. And so it takes 20 minutes or so to just get up into the mountains.
And
then,
like 10 miles from the mountains.
Yeah, and they have a lot of good hiking trails and things like here in where we're at. So somebody asked me how my chronic fatigue improved with age. It really doesn't improve with age. It doesn't change a whole lot. The thing with the chronic fatigue is I have learned how to control it. I've had it so long now and lived with it for so long, Tawra too, that we've just learned how to control it. For example, I had a guy come this morning to buy my Murphy bed. Well, he had to take it apart, and we spent 2 hours tearing the Murphy bed apart. And I helped him carry the parts out, and I helped him with all that type of thing and everything. And it was exhausting, and it was hot and tiring. Well, I knew then when I got done with that, I could not do anything more till the end of the day. And then until the live stream, I had to rest in between there. So I laid down for a while and I took it easy. And because I knew I was going to have to do this, and that would mess up my chronic fatigue for this evening. So it's a matter of controlling it. It hasn't gotten any worse. It hasn't gotten any better with me aging. It's stayed the same. And one thing I'm finding out, people that had that pandemic thing that just went by, they're having a lot of symptoms like what people with chronic fatigue have and have lived with for years, like the fog brain and the exhaustion and different things like that. And so if you have had that and you are having problems, you'll have to do things kind of like what we do with our chronic fatigue and learn to live with those types of things. Oh, thank goodness you're back, Michael.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. That was not expected thing. So, okay. Let me quickly check here. Looks like we've got some.
Jack was clicking some, I think, behind the screen here. He maybe clicked some on. I haven't had a chance to look at them.
Okay, let's see. All right. He was writing some stuff over here.
I thought he was.
So you already answered this one?
Which one? Yes.
So guys, basically it was like a really bad kind of Charlie horse thing. And as I said, I've been working. I haven't taken the break off at Tawra when Tawra's taking the break off, but today, one of our, Dave was saying he had to work every day except today. Can I go hiking with them? So I was like, well, I'd really like to. And it is a work day, but I went ahead and decided not to work in the early part of the day. And we were supposed to be done like 3 hours before the show, but we ended up having an unscheduled getting lost in the woods. Well, we went one way that didn't really work out, and then we kind of went off trail to go down a hill. We came to an overlook of a lake that we were supposed to actually be at the lake. And so we looked at the map, and the trail that looked like it would go to the lake itself was really far back to join. So we went down this hill through the woods and across a bunch of rocks to get to the lake. But then afterwards, we went to find the trail that was supposed to go down there, and we didn't realize till we were in the woods that trail no longer exists. Mm-hmm. So anyway, just as I was sitting here, it was like a big Charlie horse came on, and I was thinking, oh, ow. It must be from just coming right in from the hike and sitting down.
And I didn't think to tell you, but when we used to go get I only went like twice to get massage. When we first started getting massage or foot massage and that type of thing, they always said take an Alka-Seltzer. And my best friend told me this too, to take an Alka-Seltzer if you go to an exercise class or you work out at the gym or something, to take an Alka-Seltzer. And I didn't even think that goes for hiking. If you take that prevents you getting the cramps in your legs. If you drink a lot of water too, as soon as you get done whatever you're doing, drink a ton of water or take an Alka-Seltzer, and that'll prevent the leg cramps.
Yes. Nina says, and I'm so funny and unscheduled getting lost in the woods. You know what? I can't say for 15 years I've gotten lost in the woods. And in Colorado, where we lived, we knew every mountain by name. And we knew so much about all the trails everywhere where we were that it would have been really, really, really difficult to get lost. But here in Wyoming, the trails are super, super rural and super wild. And if you go to hike at a certain place, like the place we went today, when we got there at 7:30 or 8 in the morning, there were 2 other vehicles. And when we were on the trail, we saw 2 ladies and we saw a guy fishing, and then we saw nobody else until on the way back. And then we passed 2 different groups of people on the way back. So it's a lot more remote than Colorado, and the trails aren't marked very well. So there'll be places where you'll just come to a split in the trail and there's no explanation. Or one trail, Dave happened to have an All Trails app on his phone today, and it said, "Hey, are you off the trail?" And we realized there's a place where the trail went straight, but the place we were supposed to went turned, and they both look the same. Mm-hmm. So, but the unscheduled getting lost. Did I mention that? Somebody said, who was it? Nina, so funny and unscheduled getting lost in the woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just funny that we didn't ever have that experience. So, but we did find our way back pretty easily. It just was hard to get through the woods.
Yeah, I was sweating that he was going to get here for the show and everything. But
what were you going to say?
Somebody asked me what, this is so little that encouraged my faith recently. And I've mentioned this past couple of months, that I don't think as Christians, we realize how much, we know God's in every detail of our life, but we don't actually believe it in the sense that we follow through and we're calm. If we want something or need something or something's happening, mm-hmm. we try to figure it out ourselves. We try to do it on our own. Well, this is happening, so how can I figure out, make this work? Or, I'm upset over this, so I just have to be upset about it. Instead of saying, okay, dear God, I have no idea what to do here. You're going to have to fix it. And then just wait and let him fix it. Or I'm stressed, and it's like, I'm going to claim this promise. I claim this promise now all the time. The Bible said that God said he would be a husband to the widow. And so now if I come and I have to make a decision and I don't have a husband to bounce that idea off, what should I do? I come to God and I said, you promised to be my husband right now, and I need your help to make this decision, and I have no idea what direction to go. You're going to have to plainly show me. I tell you, instantly, I get something, or within just a couple of hours, I get something that I know what direction I'm supposed to go. But so it's all in the little tiny things every day, all day long, continuously. This is the way I think now. And the other day, Tara and Mike didn't go to church that Sunday. I forget why you didn't go to church that Sunday.
Because it had rained for 60 days in a row, and that day it didn't rain, and Dave asked to go on a hike.
Oh.
And Dave's, I'm really trying, right now I realize Dave really needs to be able to have some hangout time with Dad.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, okay, let's do that today.
Well, they weren't going to church that morning, and I was driving to church, and I felt like I'd been beaten down, kind of under attack type of thing. It was just all morning long, and I couldn't figure out what was going wrong. And finally, I was driving to church, and I said, okay, dear God, for some reason, I need to have a song I recognize at church, because a lot of the songs we sing at our new church now, I've never heard them before, and they're fine. It's fine. But
they do play a lot of different ones each Sunday, that like new ones that you've never heard before.
Yeah, that I've never heard before. And sometimes the old songs that you know and you're familiar with are a comfort to you. And I was praying, I said, dear God, please let there just be one song for me to hear this morning. I need that comfort. I need that. For some reason, I needed that. And I was praying that going to church, and I didn't think anything more about it. I said, just one song. And I go in and sit down in church, and they always have somebody else play like the organ and the piano ahead of time while everybody's prelude or whatever you want to call it, getting ready for church to start. And I sat down and I was looking around. I was reading the announcements up on the screen, and all of a sudden, I shouldn't talk about it because I get teary-eyed. All of a sudden, the guy on the organ was playing like one of my top 3 songs. I couldn't believe it. And what was so weird about this, you say, well, it was just probably a coincidence, which I don't believe in. This song I have not heard for probably 30 to 35 years. Nobody ever plays this song. It's like one of my favorites, and I've not heard it in that many years. And it's the most comforting song. And he was playing it. The last I heard it play, my husband played it for me about 35 years.
Aww. And
I mean, he didn't just play a regular old hymn that everybody plays all the time, knows. Why that one of all the songs when I asked specifically for a song to comfort me?
That's really cool.
I mean, and I see this stuff every day, and I thought, all these years I've missed out on these things. Not all of them, but it hasn't been in just the last 5 years maybe or so that I've finally recognized God is there all the time, every single moment, wanting to show us something, wanting to bless us with something, not money. We always think of getting a blessing in money, not that. But in every little detail, he's wanting there to help us, like a loving father who has a toddler that's trying to do stuff, and the father comes over and is going to help them. Or give them something that he knows, a piece of candy that he loves, like a loving grandfather or grandmother. Here's all the candy you want. And God's wanting to do that with us. But we're just so busy trying to figure this stuff out ourselves. I was praying, I need comfort. I need this or that. How can I calm myself down? How can I do this? God was just waiting there for me to say, would you do this for me? And he did it.
Actually, a lot of people are wondering what this song is. And they're loving that.
Well, I don't know. I don't mind saying it, but I don't think I've never met anybody that has even heard this song before. And that's what's so weird about it, for this organist to be playing. And I went up afterwards and I told him what had happened and thanked him for playing. He said, well, that's really odd, because he had this big, thick book. And he said, I was just going through this page by page, whatever came next for the songs. And here, just when I'd walked in, and sat down, he happened to get to that song and everything. The song is called Follow Me. It's a
I know
really,
that one, I
yeah,
think.
nobody hardly knows that one.
Hmm.
And my husband was the only one that ever hardly played it. I see it in a lot of the older books, song books, but most people don't know it. And I bet you probably nobody on here has probably heard it because it's really,
I'll see if anyone says they've heard
yeah,
it.
I'll be curious because it's,
Yeah, wow, God is good. That was a God moment. Yes. Actually, what I've been surprised about, is it Come Follow Me or just Follow Me?
Follow Me.
Because Michelle, there's a lot of different similar name songs. So
No, it's just plain Follow Me.
Hmm. Wow.
It's a really an older song.
Grandma's So Happy Homestead says, "Oh yes, my family has sung it."
Oh, really?
Wow.
I just never heard anybody else that's had it.
Wow.
And it was weird because the last time I heard it was my husband, we had a grand piano and he's, okay, this is going to be such a tearjerker, guys. I'm so sorry here. But poor Mike's sitting here thinking, oh, will she just get on to something practical? But,
I didn't say
but
that.
no, I know. But he went and one night he said, we had separated at that point, but he was over at the house, with me. And I remember so well because he said, I'm going to play for you, because I loved listening to him play. And we had to go into the dining room where the grand piano was. I had hardly no heat. I was heating with the wood burning stove at that point. So the back part of the house was freezing. And I remember he got a bunch of blankets out and he wrapped me in the blankets, and I was sitting in the recliner, and he wrapped me in the blankets, and he went over and sat and played for, I don't know, about an hour or two, played for me. And that was one of the songs he played. And I don't think I heard him play again, except maybe at Tawra and Mike's wedding, ever again. And so, and he played that song.
You played that song at our wedding?
No, but I mean,
he just played it at our wedding.
Played it. That was the last I heard him play, period.
Wow.
So that's why
he
it
was
was
an amazing piano player.
He was. He really was. And it's really sad. People don't think sin affects your life. One of the ways I could tell he'd fallen into sin, it changed the way he played. He didn't have the confidence. He didn't have, something was gone. And I really, after all these years looking back, I think he had an anointing on him. God anoints pastors and different people, ministers and things, with this specialness that you think they are so amazing. Pastor Jack Hibbs, he's an example of somebody that I think really has God's anointing on him. And you could tell, but the minute they fall into sin, it's like God withdraws that anointing, I think, and that's what happened with my husband. His playing was always still good.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily with everybody that if they fall into sin temporarily.
No, not temporarily, but I mean when they embrace it,
and don't want to give it up for God.
That's the clarification.
So, sorry, Music Matt asked a question that was related to that. Is it the one that starts with "Follow Me, Follow Me"?
No. It starts with "I traveled down a lonely road."
Okay, interesting. So, let's see.
I would say all the words, but I can't get through the first line without crying. So,
yeah. Something I was gonna hit. Sorry, I was dealing with other things. Okay. South Loop River Homestead was saying, I would love to give that widow verse to a friend. Do you know what that verse is?
It's in the Old Testament. I don't know it off. Can we Google it, Michael? It should be easy.
What was that?
I will be a husband to the widow and a father to the orphan.
Oh, okay.
And it should pop up. And there's if I feel I'm under attack, that Satan's all over me attacking for some reason, I quote the verse that I shall not tempt you above what you're able, but give you a means of escape. And because sometimes we think of that verse as being tempted in some awful evil sin, but Satan attacks us wanting us to be angry, stressed, fearful, anxious. And when I feel any of those feelings, I just quote that verse and I say, okay, dear God, this pressure is getting too much for me. And you promised to give me a means of escape. And I need that right now. And it's almost like it's gone. So start picking these verses, reading your Bible. And it says he'll give you his grace, and things like that. Just claim those verses. And I don't mean, name it, claim it, like that type of, but just God gives you promises. How many promises are in the Bible that we read all the time, but when we're in these situations, we don't say, this is the promise I need to claim right now, dear God. Will you please, you said you would do this for me, will you do it? And that's why it's good to read your Bible, because then you can remember those promises. You can't find it?
I haven't found it. I found sing to God, sing. It was Psalm 68, 4 and 5. Sing to God, sing in praise of his name. Extol him who rides on the clouds. Rejoice before him. His name is the Lord, a father to the fatherless, a defender of widows. He's got it.
That's not, I don't think that's the one. If I have my Bible here, I just look at my Bible. Let's see where we at here. I think
here I can type in husband. That's the only one of this list that says husband in it.
Which one?
But that's not.
Oh no,
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know what else to do, because that's the.
We can try to find out, and I'm going to share it then.
Yeah,
we can. Isaiah 54, 5. Oh, that's relating to Israel, though. Huh.
If we don't get it tonight, we can get it. We should see if Tawra could look it up for us. I had things marked in my Bible, so I just opened them up and I can see where I have them marked. So
Denise says that song is on YouTube, that John Denver sings it.
Really? I wonder. I do know there are some songs that maybe are like it, but he could have. I don't know. It's an older song, so that could be true. But what was I talking? I was talking about claiming the promises, but there was something else I was going to mention. Oh, along with claiming the promises, I was listening to something the other day, and it's like we pray so often for God's will in our life. Oh, do I get this job? Do I move here? Do I do this or that? I need to know your will. Do you want me to do in this? And somebody said, and I thought this was interesting because it's so true. God tells us his will, what he wants us to do in so many places. How many things does he say? This is what I want you to do. I don't want you to commit adultery. I don't want you to gossip. I don't want you to covet things. All these, I don't want you to do, all these different things. That's his will. Those are all things that's his will. I want you to forgive. We don't even do the things that we know exactly what his will is. He says it right there in the Bible, but we don't do those things. And yet we're still asking for, well, what do you want me to do your will in this area? Well, if we're not doing it in these things already, why is he going to bother to, help us out? You've got to think about this stuff sometimes. Now, we're not going to be perfect, of course. There's no way we're going to do it, but we need to at least try more on some of these things if we want to know God's will, you know.
There was something else. Oh, yeah. Who was it? Louise found it. Follow Me, Ira Stamphill, 1953. I Googled it, and that one, they have these lyrics. I traveled down a lonely road, no one seemed to care. The bird on my weary back had bowed me to despair.
That's it.
So it's on YouTube. Follow Me, Ira Stamphill. Stamphill.
Yeah, the words are really powerful, and they'll break your heart when you read them, but in a good way.
Nice. Okay. So let me look back at the other questions, because I kind of got off the track of them back there where we had that little problem. How did Jack do on the show?
Oh, he did fine. We weren't on too long before you came in. So
did you answer this?
What is it?
Darlene asked, have you seen any bears since living here?
Oh, no, I haven't seen bears. We've seen everything else, but not bears.
We haven't seen bears. We know they're around. There have been a lot of them in town lately at different places. And while our house was under contract, before we actually bought it, there was one actually on the property here, and they come and try to relocate them back to the mountains. So, but sometimes they still keep coming back.
Mhm.
But we haven't seen any at all. We've heard of people being stalked by big cats on the trails, so we come a little bit more prepared than we did when we were in Colorado to defend ourselves in those types of situations. So,
Mhm. Mike did get to see a little tiny baby deer, and he was trying to get a picture of it. and he
actually,
couldn't.
yeah, we see a lot of deer.
Yeah, but this was a
And
baby.
there've been a lot of the fawns look smaller this year than last year, don't they? Or maybe
I
we're
haven't
just seeing
seen
them
one
right
this
after they're born. But there was one that was like the size of a small dog, like a little poodle dog sort of size. That was how big this little baby deer was, and had all the little baby ones have the super bright white spots and everything. And it was so cute. My camera wasn't behaving, but it was really, really pretty. So yeah, but no bears. And we have a lot of snakes. We haven't seen any poisonous snakes here. There are a lot of rattlesnakes out. Well, we saw a rattlesnake out on a trail one time, but not near our house.
Well, I was talking to my neighbor lady just about 2 weeks ago, and she was. I live on a steep hill, kind of. It goes up really sharp in my backyard, and so does hers. But behind her, she has a fence, and then behind that is all these weeds that grow. And she was telling me she tries to keep those weeds cut down and everything. And I said, well, I was wondering how she did that. And she said, and she was telling me she did it. She said, I will keep those weeds down no matter what, because when she first moved in the house, there was a rattlesnake and a bull snake in her backyard that came out of those weeds. And she's found out that housing area that I live in was like a nest of rattlesnakes when they started the construction out there. And so she says, I make sure I keep all these weeds down, in my backyard. So I guess we have them really bad out in our area. So.
And rattlesnakes, I saw one out on the trail, and we know some people that own ranches around here, and they say that they see them on the ranch a lot. And yes, Michelle, they are poisonous. But we don't see them very much. And the one time that we actually saw one, it was on a trail. It was actually right at the edge of a trail. But it was all coiled up there like it was resting with its head down on its coils, and it was rattling its tail. Of course, we didn't get close to it. But at the same time, it didn't look like it was in fight mode. But we have tons of really cool garden snakes here. And some of them are as big around as a quarter and maybe 2 feet long. And then there's some like small, there's probably on our property, we've probably seen 4 or 5 different varieties of them in different colors and
There's
shapes
still
and sizes.
a snake.
And you would have loved it the other day. The other day I came outside for something, and there were 3 of them kind of doing this across the driveway in different areas. And then another one just sunning itself. But the non-poisonous ones we like, because
we don't.
Well,
yeah,
Tara and I like them because
I know what you mean. Yeah.
we haven't seen any mice or any kind of rodents at
Yeah,
all.
they do.
I'm thinking that they and some of the other.
I think I'd rather get a cat maybe to keep them.
The thing that we've been the most excited about, the kids and I, on the mountains is we've discovered there are marmots in the Bighorn Mountains. So they're like, if you haven't seen them, they're MARMOT. You should Google that and look at the picture. They're like big, fluffy. They look like teddy bears with big fluffy tails. They're kind of like a cross between a dog and a live teddy bear. They're so cute, and they're super social with people. Like if you're outside and you're on a trail,
I've never heard of them before.
If you're outside and you're on a trail, they'll kind of come up and hang out and do stuff. I mean, if you look at them too much, they'll go in the rocks, but they come out and check everything out. They're pretty funny.
Learn something new every day.
Let's see. Did you already answer about your beautiful skin?
No.
Pamela, oh, sorry. I forgot you can't see. Jill, you have beautiful skin. Could you share what's your skincare routine? Happy to see you both. You and Tawra did a video.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say it would probably be easier if Mike could do the link maybe or you can just go to our YouTube channel to videos, and in the search bar put skincare or makeup.
I think that it was like our skincare routine.
And we go into a lot of detail of what we do on there. But one thing real quick that you can do is doesn't necessarily matter what kind of skincare products you use. If you do a skincare routine, and that's always the most important. In other words, cleanse your face, use moisturizer, and then use a cream at night, and get the type of cream or moisturizer. If you've got oily skin, then you get that type for oily, or dry skin, whichever you need. But just keep consistent with it, and do exfoliate. Do some kind of mask or something like that once a week. And if you just start doing that regular skincare routine with any, you don't have to be really expensive skincare stuff, but just anything that doesn't make your face break out, or that feels good to you on your face and seems to be nice on yours, do that. But we go into detail on exactly all the stuff I use and that type of thing. I used to use Mary Kay for years because I sold Mary Kay, but they changed the formula. So see, I had to change and start using different stuff. And you may do that too as you change in age and stuff. So that's why it's hard to pinpoint an exact type of skincare. That Tara and I both use two different things, and both of us, our skin is okay, and that type of stuff. So it just depends on what you want. But we go ahead and check that out because it'll go in a lot more detail.
And we'll probably be wrapping this probably in the next 10 or 15 minutes, but I'm just looking through to see if there are some questions we didn't answer. Michelle was wondering, how long does corn last? Like corn on the cob?
Corn on the cob. It doesn't last too long, I don't think. And I suppose you can put it in the refrigerator, but what happens is it's a starch. And when you put stuff like potatoes or corn in starchy foods in the refrigerator, sometimes it causes them to change the consistency. I don't know if that's the word I want. But yeah, usually corn on the cob, you need to use it pretty quick.
Yes. Let's see. Sorry. Looking at some other questions here real quick. I think we answered that. The people asking about BJ, he's, I think, doing quite a bit better.
Yeah.
He's actually reconstructed the RV.
Oh, he's done a beautiful job.
He's done an amazing job.
Yeah.
He's really got some skill with mechanical things, and he's done some pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And for those that are asking, where's Tara? I would say go back and watch. There's a video. The last live stream on our channel before this one is I'm quitting YouTube, and she's actually hasn't quit permanently as far as we know. She's taking a sabbatical. She's taking a long break in hopes that she's really burned out from everything that's been happening. So that's kind of what that's about. We are expecting her to come back at this point.
Think is she in the living room watching?
She better not be. Well, when I was trying to figure out how to deal with that situation, she pulled it up for a second. I'm like, you can't be watching that.
She's supposed to be resting.
So I will tell her though that
you guys have been asking after.
Yeah, SW, they were called groundhogs. Well, they're actually the marmots are way bigger than groundhogs. Groundhogs are considered to be a menace here, so ranchers don't like them at all.
Prairie dogs are a nightmare here.
So one person asked me about Amy, as someone who once struggled with anxiety, Mike, what scriptures do you find helpful? Unfortunately, I still sometimes struggle with that, but a lot less than I used to. And I like Philippians, is it 4? I forgot the exact verse, but it's do not be afraid. Well, what was it? It's don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. And that one is really, really good. But actually, I did a video. Let's see. I think I've got it it's on our channel. I did a video where I put some of those favorite verses in. It's talking about, there are verses like when Elisha and his servant were there, and his servant was worrying because the enemy army was surrounding them, and Elisha wasn't worried at all. And then he prayed that God would show the servant. And the servant went out, and this angel army appeared on the hillside all around the enemy army. And so it's things like those. Some of those are my favorites. I also like Matthew 6:25. That's where Jesus is saying not to be afraid, because God takes care of the birds and the lilies in the field, and how much more does he love you?
What was the thing you did where you put music to that?
That's what I was referring to.
Oh, is that the one? Yeah.
Let me look that up real
If you
quick.
can watch this, everybody on here might want to watch this. This was so moving and so good what Mike put together. It's got verses, but music to it, and it was his mother-in-law was very impressed. So you can imagine how good it was if his mother-in-law was very impressed.
Whoops, here it is. It's on our show notes. By the way, well, I didn't update the show notes today, but we have a page, livingoutadime.com. You can click under videos, show notes, and it has links that we share a lot. But I'll share this one in here right now.
And even if you're not having a problem with anxiety or anything like that, you need to watch this because it was very moving and touching. Yeah.
Well, actually, when I was researching it and I looked up all these verses, I was thinking, wow. And when if I watch it, all the verses together. Really,
I know it'll blow your mind.
Really strike me.
If you guys can watch, it's not very long really or anything, but
it's like 2.5 or 3 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it's not very long. And so, and it's something good to keep around if you're having a time of discouragement or fear or anxiety or something like that, to just pop it in and start playing it. It's like I said, he said it's only a couple minutes long, but it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
marmots are known as whistling pigs because of the sound they make. I
have never even seen a picture of a marmot before.
Well, the sound that they make to me sounds like a dog chew toy makes that little squeaky sound.
Yeah, so that would make sense, like a whistling pig kind of. Yeah,
they're super cute. I don't really. I mean, I like all kinds of animals, especially when they're in the wild. But for some reason, I have a soft spot for them. And also, one time I forgot what it was called. There was a weaselly looking thing I saw in a tree in Colorado on a trail one time in my life, and it was really cool. And I forgot what its name. There's a specific type of creature it is, but it was so cool. And I walked up and it was on the side of the tree and it just looked at me and I stood there and I was moving really slow to try to get the camera out. And I got a good picture of it. So, but it was really cool to look at. So let's see. Elizabeth, I love Tawra. She's so down to earth, very intelligent. Thank goodness she's taking a break. She deserves it. Take your time, Tawra. Be healthy and happy. Yeah, she's very down to earth, but she has a big heart for everybody, but she doesn't sometimes know her limits. She's super type A.
She wears herself out.
Yeah,
she's trying to help everybody.
She's super type A, so either she's feeling good or she's what should I say? She's either feeling good or if she feels she's not feeling good, then she crashes. But if she's feeling good, then she tends to overdrive herself with everything. And that's kind of a problem.
Wears her out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And too, with our chronic fatigue, this is one thing that you need to do about controlling the chronic fatigue is you tend to, when you're feeling good, you do everything exuberant. You're really working hard, doing this hard, doing everything hard, and then boom, you crash and burn before you realize it. So you have to be kind of careful to brace yourself. I was telling the guy that bought my Murphy bed today, he was a doctor, emergency doctor, and we were talking about the chronic fatigue, and he was surprised because I told him with chronic fatigue, even when you get really happy and excited about something, it can make you so sick because it's just they're positive emotions, but it's exciting emotions, and that will get your body activated and going, and then that wears you out. So
yeah, I was trying to see now. Somebody was asking if that was a mink. It's not a mink, but I can't remember what it is. Oh, I had a picture of it on my Facebook at one point. I was oh well. I'd have to probably. I can't remember what it is. It was.
You can maybe find it at.
I don't have to look right now, but anyway, it was. I looked to see for a while. It had It wasn't a mink. It wasn't a weasel. It was like looked like maybe a cross between a fox and a weasel and a cat.
Oh my!
And it was
word.
it was I forget what are those ones called that people use to hunt that go underground and anyway, it was like that. I'm confusing people worse now. I was looking to see it. I have just way too many pictures here. So
That's going to be a weird creature, Michael.
Yeah. So next time we're on, you'll have to ask us, and I'll hopefully find out in the meantime.
Yeah, I was going to say you can show them next time maybe if you find it.
It wasn't a mongoose or a possum or anyway. I'll find out what it is and get back with you all. So I guess we probably should wrap it, huh? I'm getting a little tired. So anyway, anything else you'd like to say, Mother-in-law?
Nothing. I'm so glad you guys joined us tonight.
Yeah, we
were coming on.
We were really glad you were here. I tried to send out a notification early enough that everybody that wanted to come would know we were going to be on. So
and don't forget, guys, we've got the cookbook. They're not on.
They're 25% off.
They're 25% off. Is that what they are?
Yeah.
In case you have a wedding coming up, if you got kids going to college or something, this is really good for them to take with them to college. To find the easy cooking stuff and things like that and everything. So
well, and the gluten-free one is amazingly popular because some people in gluten-free groups have found it and tried it and they love it. So they've been sharing it on there.
They are exceptional recipes because Tawra tested these because she was so sick of these gluten-free recipes that were nasty, and so she took most of the recipes a lot of the recipes out of Dining on a Dime and changed them over into the gluten.
Yeah, so some of them didn't have gluten in the first place, and she just put the same recipes in. But then all the ones that would normally have gluten for baked goods, especially like sandwich bread, fluffy sandwich bread, and stuff like that, she had to completely reinvent the recipe.
And we've had a lot of people try the sandwich bread recipe, and they just love it. Our viewers have mentioned it. So,
and there was some other thing I was going to say. Well, it's for gluten-free and dairy-free because she doesn't normally like to. It's just too much work to write books for all the different special diets. But on that one, since she absolutely had to do that, she still really does. Then she ended up writing it because people kept asking for it. But I've found that some of the recipes in this are even better, like the brownies. Oh.
Yeah, the guys really love the brownies.
We just love we love the brownies in both books, but the ones in the gluten-free book seem even more amazing. So anyway, there was one other thing I forgot one other question that somebody had asked earlier, and I was just going to ask you on the air because I've been meaning to ask you anyway, and you weren't here. Somebody asked in this one book that we have on the chicken and biscuits recipe, I wonder why it says you use margarine instead of butter. I tried Googling why margarine would be better. And I'm wondering if the issue is that the butter would burn.
Yes, that's in that recipe. If you use butter, everything will burn. So you have to use some margarine.
Because margarine's an oil.
Yeah, it's an oil. And so you melt it. It's not, if the margarine or if the butter's mixed inside of the biscuit or whatever, then you could use the butter. But this you melt in the pan and you bake the chicken in the pan with this melted margarine, and then you roll the biscuits in the melted margarine, and they're sitting in the margarine, and so it would just burn like crazy if you changed over to the butter.
I thought it was that.
Yeah.
I told her, I said, well, I think this is the answer, but I'm going to ask you just to make sure. We actually have in the books, I think most of the recipes say butter or margarine.
But if we say margarine,
if it says margarine only or shortening or something like that, if you don't use that, it won't turn out right.
Yeah, especially in baked goods, if you don't use the margarine, use butter instead. A lot of the cookies will just. If you wonder why your cookies are spreading flat, it's because you're using butter. The margarine makes them more cake-like and more cookie-like. Stay up thicker.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming today. We're really glad that everybody's missing Tawra. Well. Not that you have to miss her, but we're glad that
we'll let her know that you guys have been asking about her and everything.
And thanks to the people that sent her cards and things like that. She's really appreciated that.
Yes, we both have. We do. You guys are so great. So
yep.
And we'll be praying for you guys, and we love you a bunch. Okay.
Yes, and we're not going to come on every Wednesday, but we'll come on some of the Wednesdays live. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah. And we might do some. We were talking about doing like an all Bible show, and we were talking about maybe doing boys and I cooking in the kitchen if we get the countertop back show. So kind of keep an eye out for that. And some of the weeks we still won't do it because trying to take a little bit of time off as Tawra's doing that. Yeah. So anyway, have an awesome night.
Bye-bye,
Really glad you
guys.
came. Bye.